Good morning, and welcome to the City of Richmond's Fall All-Hands Meeting with Mayor Danny Avula and CAO Odie Donald. I have a very special friend here with me today, and this is Dunk Tank. He is available for adoption. We will talk about him in a second. But we have a wonderful meeting planned for you this morning. In addition to the Q&A that you will have with the CAO and the mayor, we have a few staff members who are going to share why they serve the City of Richmond, and I get to kick it off. So my name's Christy Peters. For those of you who I haven't yet met, I have proudly served as the Director of Richmond Animal Care and Control for almost 13 years. February 25th will be my anniversary. And I love my job. I have to say, every piece of it. I think even the awful things are awesome. I was born and raised a little bit outside of Cleveland, Ohio, and go Browns. Go Browns! Yeah, tell them! And I've always loved animals. As a child, I dragged home every stray cat and dog, rabbit, snake, whatever I could find, and I was very blessed to have supportive parents that thought that was okay. My very first job when I was 11 years old was at a therapeutic riding center, cleaning horse stalls, and I have to say, I think that was the first time that I ever remember thinking how beautiful it was that people could really benefit from having animals in their lives. I witnessed children who were nonverbal, whispering secrets in their horses' ears, and veterans who were wheelchair-bound, able to sit tall above everyone when they rode. The transformation these animals had on these people also changed something in me. I then decided I wanted to be a veterinarian, so I started college as a pre-vet student until organic chemistry stopped me in my tracks, and I switched my major to communications. I am not the one that you want calculating anesthesia formulas. Fast forward to today, and I get to be part of all of the veterinary decisions, thank you, that we make and help animals on a much larger scale. My overarching role for the city is to protect the people from the animals and the animals from the people. And as you can imagine, the dichotomy of that is interesting to navigate every single day and is a roller coaster ride for my team. We go from seizing animals, like this sweet little Dunk Tank, from awful situations, and then we work to rehab them, providing whatever they need, and trying to find them a forever family. It's a constant cycle that never stops, and both breaks your heart and fills it so full in equal measure 3 times a day. You have to be able to ride that roller coaster. Animal welfare is not for the faint of heart. I can only do my job because of the amazing team that we have at Richmond Animal Care and Control and the support from our administration, allowing us the freedom to try and help as many citizens and animals as possible. We are lucky also to have so many fierce animal advocates in the city of Richmond that help us every step of the way, and we're so grateful for their support. He's taking a little nap. He's back. Okay. If you haven't yet been to our shelter, I would like to invite each of you to please come and see us at 1600 Chamberlain Avenue. Just stop in, say hello, see how we can help you and your pet, or if you're interested in adoption. Many people tell us that they can't come to the shelter because it's too sad and their hearts will break. And I just want to take the time today to offer you a little different perspective. I like to think of the shelter as a little love bank, where little animals who may not have had the best life before are filled with joy and love, just waiting to meet you. They may have had a junk start to life. No, you had a good start to life. But they are so deserving of second chances. We believe in the power of redemption and helping people find the love that animals can provide you. They just make life so much better. If you want to just dip your toe in, we have many programs that you can get involved in throughout the year. We plan to kick off our Thanksgiving foster program this Sunday. If you're interested, just shoot us an email or follow us on social media. If you're not traveling for the Thanksgiving holiday, we're looking for people to open up their hearts and their homes for pets in need. This little peanut, who is named Dunk Tank, will be available for adoption, and we will post him on Facebook right after this meeting so that with directions on how you can apply to adopt him. And if you don't already follow us on social media, please do. We promise to fill your feed both on Facebook and Instagram with happy stories that will fill your heart with joy. Thank you for allowing me to share my story and why I serve the city of Richmond. I'm so grateful to be able to help all our residents, both two-legged and four, and blessed to have the best job in the city. Without further ado, I would like to turn it over to Mayor Danny Avula. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Christy, and I think it's possible the dunk tank might get adopted before you even leave this room. What an adorable pup, and thank you, Christy, for your service, for your commitment to this city, and just for the incredible work that you do with Richmond Animal Care and Control. I'm super excited. This is our second all-hands meeting. I woke up this morning ready to go, and had this weird moment of hesitation because last night I was at this very cool Richmond event. The Virginia Museum of Fine Arts actually rolled out a new exhibit. Some of you might know that Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz, who are married and have a spectacular personal art collection, have brought their collection to VMFA, and that exhibit opened last night. And so I got to be there. I was there with a couple of our city council members and a whole bunch of other partners. And I actually got a chance to meet Alicia Keys and Swizz Beatz, and on the way out, I hugged her, and this morning was like, I'm never gonna wash this body, but here I am. I did it. I thought that would be kind of gross, and so I'm showered, I'm ready to go, and fired up for our second all-hands meeting. We did our first one back in April, but we had a few key team members that were missing at that time. One of those being our new Chief Administrative Officer, Odie Donald. And so I'm really excited for you guys to get to know him even better. You'll hear a lot more from him over the course of the next hour. So let me just set some context. Like, what are we doing here? Why do we do all-hands meetings? We have a really ambitious agenda for this city. And none of that agenda can actually happen without you all, without having a really strong organization full of incredible, passionate people who are carrying out that agenda. And it's why when we rolled out our 7 pillars back in February, the priorities that we would organize our work around, the very first one of those pillars was a thriving city hall. We knew that we needed to pour in and strengthen our core, strengthen our organization, support our people to do the incredible work that we have to do for the residents of this city. And one big part of that is communication, right? It is letting you all know what our priorities are, what we're thinking about, what we're spending our time and energy doing, but also hearing back from you. It's a two-way conversation, and it's really important that organizations have opportunities to do that. So thank you for engaging today, for tuning in now or watching it later recorded, because I know a lot of people will do that. We got a lot of questions, loads of questions that came in over the last couple of weeks in preparation for this. 166 in total. Compare that to our April session, which I know is our first, but we only got about 35 at that point. So great to see the increased level of engagement and interest in this conversation. I will say we're not going to answer all 166 of those questions here, but there were a lot of themes that really emerged in those questions. And so what we've done is picked out some of the questions that represented some of the big buckets, some of the big themes you all are thinking about. But I'll tell you, all of those questions do help both me and Odie know where you all are at, know what's on your mind, and ultimately help us figure out how we can best support you. So in that same spirit, we are building the discipline of doing and using employee engagement surveys, right? You may remember when we last did this all-hands meeting in April, we were just launching our first employee engagement survey through SIR. And while it's taken a little longer than I would have liked, we've gotten those results, we've digested those results, and we'll be sharing those with you all next week. And I'll say this, the results do show that there's a lot of room for improvement here. The response rate, for one, was just a little over 20%. And that's low, and that matters. I think it's a signal to us that there is a lack of trust. Is somebody actually going to read these? Is somebody going to respond to these in any meaningful way? And I just want to reassure you all, I hear that, I get that. For the 800 plus people who did respond, thank you. The feedback is super helpful, and it's helping us craft our priorities for the future. And for the rest of you, I get it. Some of you may have been part of an organization previously where you weren't sure if somebody was going to read it and respond to it in a meaningful way. And I'll just say this, like, we've got to earn your trust. And I very much hope and expect that as we do iterative engagement surveys, you all will see the benefit that is to the organization, because as we hear your feedback, take your feedback, and turn that into action, that we will earn your trust over time. What did the survey show? I will say that it showed some really, really encouraging things, especially about our employees, right? That our employees are incredibly committed to the mission, that they really do love the opportunity to serve the people of Richmond. And that is like the most important thing I can imagine. The people here are here for the right reasons. They want to carry out this mission of service. It also showed that there are some disconnects, right? Disconnects between the front lines and senior leadership and what they understand the issues to be. Workplace culture was a really consistent concern that came up. We heard that middle managers need more support. And we heard that transparency and communication are real areas for improvement for us. I will say that we used so much of this input to help shape some of our internal priorities along the way. You know, a couple months ago, we rolled out the mayoral action plan, or the MAP, and we used a lot of that input to actually frame out some of the priorities that are in the MAP. And we will continue to build our departmental action plans around these results. There's more to come on that we'll be reporting in the coming months. And I'll say, while some of what we heard was hard to hear, my attitude coming into this job and the team that we're building, we're not going to stick our heads in the sand, right? We've adopted this mantra, let's look for it, find it, and fix it. It means that we really do want to figure out what is not working well, and we want to address those issues, because that's the way that we get better. That's the way that we move forward. And that's the mindset that's at the center of our mayoral action plan. So hopefully you've seen that. You've seen it on the kickoff we did on the observation deck. There's posters all over the place, and we will refer to it often as we talk about the importance of the work we're doing and how we prioritize that work. And I really am already, since we've rolled out the map, seeing some really great progress. I'll give an example. HR, for example, is expanding its training and its investment and its development of leaders. So to our leadership and training team on HR, Jeff, Liz, that whole team, I've heard such great feedback from the folks who have gotten to engage in those classes and those trainings. So keep up that great work. We are also piloting performance management tools for supervisors. And because we know, one of the gaps that we've had is consistent performance management across the organization. And so we're piloting that right now. We expect that will expand in the coming years, and ultimately we will build a culture and practice around that. I also want to be real that when there is a lot of change, that comes with friction. And there has been a lot of change, right? Just think about this last year. You have a new mayor, a new chief administrative officer, a handful of new deputy chief administrative officers, and more than a handful of new directors. And so I recognize that shift in leadership does create some friction. And you put on top of that the reality of the federal situation that we are operating in right now, right? We've just gone through the longest government shutdown we've ever experienced. We're seeing funding cut back in so many different core areas that serve the residents of the city. And so this is a time of transition. It is a time of change. And I just want to reiterate, that is why we've got to do this work, this Pillar 1 thriving City Hall work, to build the strongest organization we can and to support you, the people who carry out that work. So I want to end with this. Every week I get unsolicited calls, emails, and texts about different people's experiences with City Hall. And sometimes they're not great, right? They're frustrating experiences. But I will say that the overwhelming majority of the input that I've gotten are people's positive experiences. They had a great experience with 311, or they're super excited about the work that they're seeing happen around the city, or a very explicit example of a great interaction they had with one of you providing great customer service. And so I want to thank you for being great ambassadors for the city and for this work. And now I want to bring one of those incredible ambassadors to the stage, a woman who probably needs no introduction to many of you because you see her wonderful, bright, smiling face when you come into City Hall, Miss V.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Alice Velasquez. Though most people call me Miss V, I'm the concierge here on the first floor of City Hall. And I am so excited and deeply honored to welcome you to the fall edition of All Hands Meeting, Why We Serve. I'm going to shake off the jitters and speak straight from the heart. This isn't just a live stream. It's a space to explore, and it means to serve our communities with intention and love. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I was born in beautiful Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico. My parents and I moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut. I remember my mom's in the backyard tending to her chickens and her cow. She didn't speak any English, but she would trade her milk from her cow and get meat from her neighbors. And that's how I learned to speak English, from my community and because of my mom's everyday acts of care. When I was 6, we moved again to Brooklyn, New York, the city that truly never sleeps. Now, if you've been there, then you know exactly what I mean. Late night runs with White Castle, block parties, getting wet at the Johnny Pump on hot summer days, and of course the music, the food, the culture, beautiful. I did see hardship, but I also saw people show up and help each other out in everyday needs. And this is what brings us here today. Have you ever asked yourself, why do we serve the city? Why do we give back, show up and keep going even when it's hard? That is at the heart of this all hands meeting today. People come to City Hall and they may feel a little bit overwhelmed, but I love to show them their way, make sure that they get the information they need. Just the other day, for instance, I helped someone from Croatia. They had their translator app on their phone, and it went so well and great with them that they came back and was saying to me, Vala Van Puno. I was like, oh my, what is that? They said, thank you very much. And they taught me to say, Nema ne chemu, which means thank you very much. And they taught me very well. I showed compassion, and it's very powerful to understand their compassion. I also get to translate for my Spanish community, which I am very proud of. I am proud to be the newest member of City of Richmond's growing team. Before I started as a concierge, I worked as security for 2 years here. So within those 2 years, I got to learn everyone here, what they do, how hardworking they are, and how committed and loyal they truly are. They do empathize with everyday situations, and we pull from each other. It is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So thank you. It truly means the world to me that you guys are here taking part of this journey with us today. All hands meeting will be for today, and we will share your gain, and you will gain your energy and everything from us through us. So without further ado, please help me join Mayor Danny Avula and CAO Odie Donald. Thank you.
All right, hey everybody, this is the time where we get to answer all of those great questions that you sent our way. And first I want to do an introduction, because when I came into this office, I realized the work that I need to do is to be out in the community, connecting with partners, connecting with residents, and really listening well to what our city needs from us and translating that into vision. Now, there's a huge part of that vision that is moving the machine of this massive organization. And so I needed to go out and find a partner with expertise, driving an operation, making systems better, building people up. And so I'm so thrilled that I found our new CAO, Odie Donald. He's been here for, 4 months now, but it's been an incredible opportunity for us to really lean into that partnership together, to have our strengths really complement one another, Odie. It's been great working with you. And yeah, really glad that you're here.
Well, listen, I'm extraordinarily excited to have joined Team Richmond. I probably said that way too many times, but I can't get enough of saying it, just like I can't get enough of the city. I think for me, one of the things that I'm really excited about is being able to join your team. And listen, I've worked for a lot of different folks in my time, but haven't really had a great opportunity to work for multiple just good people. And so it's hard saying that sitting next to you and giving you props on that. But I think that's the biggest part about leadership in a government organization is really being a good person, caring about our employees as well as our residents. And so for me, I think today in answering these questions and really kind of setting the tone for government, I'm looking forward for another opportunity to do that. So I'm going to start with the question.
All right,
if that's
let's do
okay. So I get to put the mayor in the hot seat. Last time we did this, he was interviewing me. So the first question is, what is your administration doing to ensure a respectful, equitable workplace? What processes will you implement to ensure concerns are addressed promptly and transparently to prevent a hostile work environment?
Yeah, well, in some ways you should be answering this question, but I'll jump in and you can add to it if you want. I do think a respectful workforce is so incredibly important, right? It is the bedrock of a really strong organization. And I think it's important for our team Richmond to know that, that doesn't happen overnight, right? Sometimes it takes years to build the right policies, the right systems, make sure the right people are on the right spots on the bus, and really change that organizational culture. I've experienced that in other organizations I've been a part of, and it really is. It's long-standing work, but I want you all to know that we're setting the right foundations in place, and we're really building for that culture change in our organization. It's one of the things that we highlighted in the MAP, the Mayoral Action Plan. We have very specific outcomes and metrics that have to do with decreasing the turnover rate and increasing the amount of supervisor training that we're doing, making sure that we have annual performance reviews. And so those are some of the things that we put in place. But I've also tasked our CAO to really look at his vast experience in multiple cities and other best practices around the country, and what other ideas can we bring to the table.
Yeah, so I think when I look at kind of what you've laid out in the map, it's our guidepost. So we've got 7 pillars for which we all will be focused on making sure we frame the government in. And the map is our roadmap. And so to follow up on that, I know you announced the survey that was just completed and some of the things that we want to do to move the city forward and make sure we hear, from not only our citizens, but most importantly, sometimes our employees. And so because of that, when we roll out the employment engagement survey, we'll also be rolling out a new process, and I'm calling it Leadership on Location, where one of the 2 things, there were 2 things in this survey that really hopped out. Number one is that all employees want to make sure they have an outlet so that executive leadership can hear directly from them on how best to serve the city. And then number 2 is folks really love serving this city, and that really is reflected in the survey. And so we'll be rolling out not only the survey, but Leadership on Location, which is our process to be able to take executive leadership to every part of government, inside your departments, to your workspaces, so that we understand not only what you need, but how we can best provide resources to you.
Love it. All right, let's get to the next question here. My question is about professional development training. I understand that finances and opportunities are limited due to the current economic times. Will the city offer or improve tuition reimbursements?
Yeah, well, short answer is, blank slate. You got new leadership, and we want to make sure we do what's best for our employees. But there is tuition assistance on the books. I know everybody gets a little bit bored looking at these administrative regulations and all that good stuff, but we want people to pay attention to that because there is an opportunity there, and we want folks to take advantage of it. But secondly, as we roll out leadership, location, and all of these other things, there's an opportunity for us to do something different, whether it's creating a city-specific credential, so folks who haven't had an opportunity because they haven't been able to go back to school and do different things, maybe we look at a new way for them to be able to climb that ladder. But the first thing we have to do is hear from those folks on what ideas they have. Well, I'll tell you, for me, you back in the hot seat, man. So this question is, as a resident, which is cool to have city employees as residents, I love that. I'm concerned about how expensive it's becoming to live in the city. What plans are in place to help reduce or stabilize the cost of living for residents?
Yeah, I know this is a huge issue, right? It's a Richmond issue. It's a U.S. issue. I think so many people are so frustrated with the state of the economy right now, the fact that cost of living is growing at a faster rate than wages are growing, and that's putting a lot of people in a pinch. I think in Richmond that in some ways is particularly exacerbated just given the fact that, in many ways we're the victim of our own success, right? There's a lot of good things that have happened here over the last decade plus. And whether that's thoughtful placemaking in neighborhoods, whether it's redeveloping the riverfront, committing to more multimodal transportation, it has become a magnet, right? Richmond has been one of the top 5 real estate markets in the country for the last couple of years, and that is driving costs up. So there's a couple ways that we look at this. One is on the wage side, and I think the city has made some really incredible commitments, right? Raising our city's our employees' minimum wage to $20 an hour and making sure that stayed in this year's budget. I came in and really fought for not only a maintenance of that, but also an increase, a wage increase for the entire population of our city employees, and that came through in this year's budget. So that's one way that we address it, by how much our employees are making. Housing is probably the biggest chunk of what's driving up costs. And so as I talked about the demand that exists here, the fact that people want to move to Richmond, we have got to produce more housing. And so there's multiple ways that we do that. One is that we look at our own systems and processes, the work that planning and development and the permitting process that runs through the city, making that as efficient as possible to be able to build new housing. We also are right in the middle of a code refresh, looking at our zoning code and trying to address that so that it becomes easier to build more housing. And then the city has done remarkable work to commit dollars to actually subsidize new housing to create more affordable opportunities. So there's a lot happening right now. There's a lot on the horizon. I think this will be an issue for as long as I'm in the seat. I don't know that we're ever going to solve it, but we're doing so many of the right things to make it better.
Well, man, I would just want to highlight one of the great things that you put in place, and we have to refresh over the next couple of weeks, is that while we have these ARPA dollars, we want to make sure to utilize those, and we have a program for first-time home buyers that exists, and we want to make sure we not only refresh it, but we also kind of reissue it and bring it to top of mind, because while we have one resident asking a question that happens to be an employee, be great to have even more.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to come at one that's a real internal look. With an aging fleet come increased costs for maintenance and downtime due to non-functional or unsafe equipment and vehicles. How do you plan to address these systemic issues over the next 3 years?
Man, that's a tough question, but I'll tell you, the work has already gotten started, and I'll give a big shout out to Director Gail Johnson and the team at the newly formed Department of General Services, because I think they're doing something that is kind of required of all of our cities now. They are resetting the city's long-term fleet strategy, and we're looking at everything from take-home car program for police. Do we have an opportunity to really refresh and look at our resiliency and sustainability of automobiles, whether it be electric vehicles and things of that nature? So looking at fleet and looking at our equipment overall is one of our top priorities. So it's a great question, and I think the work is still to be done. And like you said, it's not something that'll be resolved in a year, but we will make sure that this is done quickly.
Yeah, and your mention of the EVs reminds me, we actually just won a big national award for our fleet because of our commitment to electric vehicles.
That's right. It's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing what we do next. I think we've got a few tricks up our sleeves still.
So good.
Well, so Mayor, another question for you is, would you consider creating a full or partial e-bike subsidy program for employees to encourage healthy, sustainable commuting? I know you're a transit guy, so what are you thinking?
No, I love the question. And as a public health doc, commitment to more active transportation is near and dear to my heart. And so I love that our employees are asking questions like this. And we're a growing city. We have made commitments, and part of our future planning here is more multimodal transportation. I expect to see more bikes, more walking, more bus riding over the years that come, and I think people want that. I mean, it's a huge part of especially young people moving to city, but also older folks. I was at a First Fridays a couple of weeks ago, and I met this couple in their 60s that they said, yeah, I just jumped on the Pulse and came right downtown. And it's just awesome to see them really enjoying the things that we have invested in over years here. To answer the question about e-bike subsidies, the Richmond Connects plan actually does name that as a strategy to pursue, and there's some some unpacking in there about strategies we can adopt to try to accelerate adoption of e-bike usage. We got a little help from the state back just this past year, House Bill 784, I think. But it just went into effect in January, and it provides a rebate to new e-bike purchasers up to $600. And so you can check in with the state code and figure out how you might use that if you are going to purchase a new e-bike. But I do think as part of our Richmond Connects plan, we'll continue to look at ways to incentivize good behavior. All right, will the city be reviewing employee pay scales or considering cost of living adjustments to ensure that wages remain competitive and aligned with current market conditions?
Yeah, so listen, man, I think you've already answered that with your actions. I think every year we take a look and monitor the pay ranges and the pay of employees, and I know that you've made a commitment to always look at those things to make sure we take care of people first, people always, and so that starts with our employees. So I know that that's something that we'll continue to do. But I will say right now, we have a really strong opportunity that has been put in place with our CBAs for frontline workers, our cost of living adjustments that have occurred, I think, for 3 years straight now. So we'll continue to do the work to make sure that we are a market leader. And I think it also ties into your housing strategy. And so we are on track to make sure we continue doing that. Well, all righty. Let's see now. I'm going to pick a difference. All righty. As somebody who values lifelong learning and inclusion, I'd like to know how the city can create more opportunities for all residents, including our older adults and multilingual communities to continue learning, growing, and continuing to contribute to Richmond's future.
Love the question again. You know, when I think about our pillars of thriving neighborhoods and thriving families, that absolutely includes priority populations like non-English speakers and our older adults. And so, yeah, there's a lot that we're doing in the city right now to help meet those needs. You know, we have a great network of partners, certainly the nonprofit community and institutes of higher education, but our folks in Parks and Rec and in the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Engagement, they're doing so much, right? We have an in-house team that is committed to doing Spanish interpretation to make more activities accessible. We also have vendors that can translate in ASL and other languages. But then we have like 6 different community centers that are running programming all the time for older adults, whether those are exercise programs or opportunities for social connection or cultural programs. So there's a lot happening. And some of what this question makes me think is, do we need to step up our advertisement or marketing of those? Because I know that there are a lot of people in the community that take advantage of them, but if there are folks who still don't know about them, we can work on figuring out how to get that information out more effectively.
Like that.
All right, next question. I am a new employee, and I've noticed that there isn't a strong performance management culture. I think the implementation of a transparent performance management system will instill a level of accountability that is currently lacking. HR indicated that the current pilot would likely not impact employee pay, etc., until 2028. What are your thoughts on performance management and its positive impacts on the organization? Well, before you jump in, I'll just say, these are things that are embedded in our map, right? The focus on reducing employee turnover, the focus on making sure we're training our supervisors, that we are, instituting a performance management system that we're piloting right now. That those are actions that we're in the midst of taking, and so I think we've gotten off to a great start here.
Well, look, you're not going to get a disagreement from me on that one. I'll tell you, I would look at the map, as you mentioned, it's our today version of performance management. It didn't take you could raise salaries in the last year because you were able to look at your plan, look at our needs, and we made some adjustments to staff pay. But I think when we look at performance, we want to make sure we get it right. I know the 2028 seems like a long way away, but it'll be here before you know it. Also, we always want to beat our deadlines. But I think most importantly, we want to balance our priorities. And what I mean by that is, it is just as important to make sure that we are evaluating folks and evaluating performance, but also making sure that that performance is not used to make it more difficult for them to be able to improve. You know, we don't want to do that. So.
Right.
That's right. I got to ask you. Let me get. This is a good question. Will a new Coliseum be built during your administration?
Man,
now, that could be 4 years or 8. So,
that's right.
I mean, you know.
Well, I hear the question all the time, and you know, I get it. Like the people who have been here a long time have a deep connection to that place, right? I've been here for 25 years. I have memories of taking my kids to monster truck rallies and to Richmond Renegades hockey games back in the day, to the circus. But, you know, that thing has also been shuttered now for 6 years. The costs to try to renovate it, to replace the roof, to try to do anything with the space that exists are exorbitant. And, you know, we've already, as a city, made a commitment to a kind of stadium-based development in the Diamond District, right? We just put out $120 million of general obligation bonds to fund a baseball stadium. Now, it will be spectacular. I mean, it's coming up, and everything that's happening in the Diamond District, down the Arthur Ashe Boulevard corridor, like, I'm so excited about what that does for the heart of our city. But I also don't know that there's either the money or the public appetite to do another stadium-based development. And so, you know, we absolutely focusing on that city center area, that 10 square blocks that sits just north of City Hall, the area between our convention center and VCU Hospital on the other end. And one of the things, the opportunities I think we really need to lean into, especially like right there on that Coliseum space that abuts the convention center, is that we need more hotel beds to maximize the use of the convention center, right? Over the last 3 years, we have lost more than $300 million of revenue of people who have said, hey, I want to bring my convention to Richmond, but there's not enough hotel beds in walking distance, and so I'm going to take my business elsewhere. So the convention center folks keep that data. They track it very carefully. And so we do want to make sure that we are putting, you know, probably 1,000 plus hotel beds in that surrounding area to really drive the use of the convention center. But with that comes a lot of other opportunities for development, right? We know we've got to bring high density residential to this community. We've got to have people who are living here around the clock and going to restaurants and coffee shops and bringing life and vibrancy to this part of the city. So as you can tell, like, I'm super excited about what's going to happen at City Center. It's not going to be a Coliseum unless there's someone out there who wants to bring $300 million to the table and renovate that thing. Because obviously, I think there's other better, higher uses for that land right now.
Understood.
Okay, next question. Will we hear further what excellence in service means specifically? What concrete steps should we take as employees, and what steps will the administration take?
Yeah, so another great question from our team, and short answer is yes. You'll definitely hear from the city administration on, you know, what excellence in service means. I think the first part of that is we have to listen to you, and that's why we're doing Leadership on Location, making sure we come around and understand what barriers you have, what type of supports you need, and anything that will help you serve better. But I would also make sure that we look at it as a two-way street. And what I mean by that is we're all accountable for excellence in service. So sometimes that means that we have to, you know, go the extra mile. I heard the young lady who opened us up say, you know, she walked the folks to the elevator and she made sure they made it to their space. That's that extra mile. That's what excellence in service means. It means doing just a little bit more than what you're told, doing a little bit more to make sure that the next person receives the services that they need. And so I think Richmond is already doing that, and we're in great hands, but there's more that we can do.
Yeah, I would affirm that. I mean, I just, again, as I shared in my opening comments, it's not a week goes by that I'm not hearing some really positive affirmation of what our team is doing. And we just need to keep striving to do better and make sure that that is what people know us by.
I just close out with, look, excellence means more. It's never, continuous quality improvement.
Yeah.
We start at one place and we raise the bar, and our job is to keep doing so. Well, Mayor, speaking in eliminating obstacles and making sure folks, take it to the next level, this next question is, what obstacles exist for Richmond that hinders managers' abilities to reward employees financially for a year well done, as is done in some municipalities and state agencies?
Yeah, I've 15 years of working in local and state governments and different organizations and kind of seeing stops and starts at this. It's challenging to do, right? Like, I think it is the systems that you've got to build to be able to do that well take some time. And we've already talked about the fact that, like, we need to build a strong performance management culture first, and it's going to take some time to, like, get those policies right, to get those processes right. And so I kind of think about this as a crawl, walk, run scenario, right? Where it's going to take us a couple of years to just to really build the foundation. I do think it's, being able to introduce a bonus structure or other financial incentives is important, and I think we've seen that in some public sector agencies and a lot of private sector, but I think there's steps that we've got to take before we can get there.
Understood.
Okay, DPU has seen a lot of restructuring this year. Can you tell us more about how that developed and why?
Yeah, listen, I can try, but I know you know DPU very well, having the water crisis in your first week here. So, I think the DPU, just like, really the whole city, we're all kind of starting, I just call it a blank slate. Different people have to be in the right seats. And we want to make sure that we're providing the support and the resources for the folks, whether you're on the top or the bottom of the totem pole. And so what you're seeing at DPU is just that. We're making sure that the leadership has the resources that they need, including some segmenting of service areas, so those folks on the front line get the resources that they need. So we're connecting the dots to make sure that the organization is structured well enough so that the jobs of the people on the front lines are just as easy as the folks in the back rooms making the decisions. So that's what we're seeing at DPU, and I think we're on the right track. All righty. So, Mayor, if in later fiscal years GRTC is unable to provide free fares for riders, will the city go back to providing bus passes to and from work as it did before free ridership?
Yeah. Let me first say what a huge step forward fare free has been for GRTC and for our whole city, right? What we saw as a result of COVID, and we've just seen huge increases in ridership because of that. And when GRTC did the financial analysis, like the cost of actually setting up the equipment and the efficiency challenges of actually collecting fares, weren't necessarily worth it for the fees that they were collecting. And so, I think there is a clear commitment, certainly by us in the city and really by many of our regional partners and by GRTC to try to keep that moving forward. And maybe this is a good time to talk about how GRTC is funded, because GRTC has been this really important regional story for us over the last couple of decades. There was a time where our county partners were trying to keep the bus system from expanding out into the counties, and because they didn't want low-income folks moving into those areas or being able to work in those areas. And that clearly things have changed. And I think that creates much more opportunity for regional cooperation, for regional investment. And the General Assembly helped us with that a few years ago when they created the Central Virginia Transportation Authority. It is this regional body that collects fees through a fuels tax and a sales tax. And that money goes partly back to the localities that fund it, but partly to regional priorities like GRTC. Yeah. And so there's a huge funding stream that actually pays the GRTC bill. It's allowed for the expansion significantly into Henrico and Chesterfield, and it has allowed for a commitment to fare free. So CVTA, continues to go. They just reached a huge benchmark recently where they have raised over $1 billion in revenues from those taxes. and that's been a huge boon for GRTC. So, you are our board member that sits on GRTC. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, but I don't see that as a huge issue we're going to have to tackle anytime soon.
I can tell that you are a big supporter of fare-free
Absolutely.
transportation, and I think my role on the board is to make sure that it stays in place. I think even more so for the person who asked that question, GRTC is one of our biggest economic development engines as well. Mm-hmm. We're moving 30 to 50,000 people per day back and forth, many of those who work for the city. And so one of our key focuses is just making sure that folks have the opportunity to take full advantage.
All right, great. All right, this one's for you. Good day to Mayor Avula and CAO Donald. There are employees who have 27 years of service or more. Very specific. 27 years of service. Are there plans to offer a buyout to those long-serving staff?
Well, listen, the first thing that I'll do is make sure. I was on the elevator today and met a young lady who was on the way to a retirement celebration today at 11 a.m. on the 5th floor. Kim Chen from Historic Preservation will be celebrating her retirement. I haven't had a chance to meet her yet, but I wanted to give her a big shout out. And so how that ties into this question is we want to make sure that everybody has a chance to retire and have an opportunity to really have that rest that you get when you complete a good day's work. And so while there is no current plan within the city to do a buyout or anything of that nature, I think we're always looking at how we make retirement better and so that people get what they earn at the end of the day.
That's great.
All righty. So, hey, Dr. Danny. It's been a big year for your first year as mayor, and this question is twofold. One, and I want to know the answer to this. What are some of the top issues facing the city that keep you up at night? And part two, and then what are some things that you're most excited about as we look ahead?
Well, after that first week that you mentioned, I do think water and really all of our infrastructure is one of those things that keeps me up at night. I think in so many ways the water treatment plant failure was an example of what happens with deferred maintenance, right? Like we're in budget conversations, we're having to make decisions about super acute pressing needs like housing or homelessness, but often it gets easy to shift money away from the things that we have to take care of as a city. Our water infrastructure, our roads, our bridges, our gas infrastructure. And there's a lot of years of deferred maintenance. And so we've taken some steps in that regard. We've formed an infrastructure council that has really brought expertise and a look back at recent evaluations and assessments and audits that have been done to help us get organized around what kind of deferred maintenance investments we need to be making. But yeah, that is definitely one of the things that worries me the most. I would say the other is probably just what we're living right now in the federal environment, right? I mean, we just, as I said, like the longest government shutdown. But even before that, right, we were seeing the way that our immigrant community is being attacked, the way that rights are being taken away from our LGBTQ communities, the way that funding is being pulled back for really basic needs like food and housing. And trying to figure out how a local government can fill massive federal gaps is no small feat. And so that worries me a ton. It's why, as we even think about this next year's budget, we really have to figure out, like, how do we make sure that we are in the financial place to keep things moving forward if we get the rug pulled out from us again?
Say that part again.
Yeah, so I do. I have some big concerns about just where we are, the current context. But there's a lot to be excited about too, and the three big things that I think about every day are that first pillar of how do we strengthen City Hall, how do we improve the delivery of services. We've talked at length about that. I won't spend more time on that now. But the second is housing. As hard of that thing that is, I also am incredibly proud of the work that we have done, certainly in this last year and in the years before that, to develop a bunch of different tools to try to solve this really complex problem for our community. And there's some really great stuff on the horizon as we make investments, as we go through this code refresh. So I'm very excited about that. And then the third is economic development. Yeah. You know, I've talked a little bit about city center, but there are big parts of our city that are huge opportunities for development and investment that are going to bring more activity and more energy. I think about Broad Street, which was kind of undergoing this revitalization for the years leading up to COVID, and took a huge step back for understandable reasons. And then we're starting to see it come back. As I mentioned, I was just at First Fridays and the streets were alive. And so there's a lot to be excited about. I think there's a lot of parts of our city center, the Diamond District, Broad Street, Shockoe Bottom, that are coming back to life. And that's in part because of the investments we're making, and it's part because of the way the community's responding.
Love it.
All right. Well, now one for you. For our new CAO, welcome to Richmond. What has been an unexpected experience you've had since your move to the River City? It can be a fun one or a challenging one or both.
Okay. Well, listen, I'll do two. I think the first one is that elevator. That elevator is number one. So I have met so many people in the elevator and have so many unique stories, including, I got to find this, I'll call her senior lady who told me how cute I was. I thought that was enjoyable on my ride up. I needed it that morning too. So, meeting folks in the elevator and just kind of getting to know different things about our staff and what's important to them in those short rides has been something that I didn't expect and have kind of enjoyed. Number two, it's just the familiarity with Richmond that I didn't know I had. I actually played my PG basketball time way before I got this thing right here at Fort Union Military Academy, and our police chief also is a former FUMA athlete as well, and so kind of having that brotherhood as well as just meeting all of the different people in Richmond and finding folks that I had some familiarity with has been great. And speaking of the police chief, so I'm still a little bit of a ways away from some basketball, but I heard he was pretty decent. So I plan to see his behind here shortly, a little bit of one-on-one that we're going to make sure everybody gets to come out and see.
Now wait for that. That's good stuff.
A little bit more breaking news. Well, all right, Mayor. I am curious about this myself. How do you plan on being employee-focused, aside from the many things that you have already stated and done, to ensure that these employee voices are valued equally to those of citizens? As the ones providing the service to the public, it is imperative that employee voices are heard when it comes to their wants, their needs, and what would improve their work environments.
Yeah. Maybe what I appreciate about the question, and you referenced this earlier, is that we really do have two constituencies, right? Yeah. I mean, we exist to serve the residents of the city, but our organization exists because of you all, the employees that work here. And so we have to be really thoughtful about how we're doing both of those things. And some of it we are doing. When we went through this last budget cycle and there were voices on city council that said we should only give raises to some people and not others, that didn't sit right with me, right? Mm-hmm. And so we really wanted to make sure that we were making investments that benefited all of our employees, that make us be able to recruit and retain the best talent possible. And so I think really fighting for wages and making sure that we're an employer of choice is one of those things. I mentioned this as well, and it's one of the things that came up in the SIR survey, the idea of communications, right? The idea that people want to know what's going on, they want better comms, and hopefully you all are seeing that, right? Whether it's the Team Richmond emails that come out, the Hey Richmond newsletter, these all-hands meetings that we're doing right now, the employee engagement survey that gives you a chance to ask questions and provide feedback for us. Those are all ways that we are increasing that two-way communication pathway.
Yeah. So, Mayor, I would just want to highlight when we talk about that, what's really important is making sure that we both not only voice our displeasure with things, but also voice our pleasure. Because one of the most important things is that Richmond is getting this part right. These all-hands meetings, I've worked in 10 different governments. First one I've ever been to that has had this opportunity to engage with our employees. And I think it's a big deal for us to also recognize the great things that we are doing to make sure that our number one constituent, our employees, have an open door to executive leadership. So excited about that.
That's great. Okay, some departments at City Hall are outdated and unattractive workspaces with poor overhead lighting, very old break rooms, and work cubicles. Many are still stuck in the 1980s. Will these departments be given the budgeting ability to improve their workspace environments in the upcoming year? And what is next on the renovation list?
Well, that is a really big question and one that's really, important. We want to make sure that all of our staff have appropriate workspaces. And it's just really important. I know it's something that's important to you. It's also important to me, and we've made sure, whether it's coming along with your one-stop shop or if we're opening up the observation deck or these individual upgrades, which, align with our RVA Green 250 compatibility or DGS. So it is a focus, but it is a big elephant, and we all know how we eat those, just one bite at a time. So we'll make sure to keep that as one of our priorities and try to improve as we move forward. All righty. So good morning, Mr. Mayor. Is it still morning? Good morning, Mr. Mayor. This isn't a serious topic, but I thought I'd ask as a dog person, and boy, Virginians love their dogs. I heard you had dogs. What kind? And can you tell us their names and share something about them?
Sure. Yeah. Well, yes. Clearly, Richmonders do love their animals. You saw Dunk Tank earlier here today. I thought, like, when Christy was up there, we could just do like a full hour of puppies, and
Just
people would be
dogs
like,
everywhere.
"Best all hands meeting ever." And one of the other things I never ever expected to do in this role was to do a press event with Francine the cat a few weeks ago. When she came back to town, it was a whole deal. But clearly, Richmonders love their animals, and I am one of those. We've got two Bernese Mountain Dogs, Gus and Nellie. I often say I have 250 pounds of dog. I have a very reasonably sized 85-pound Nelly, and then Gus is like 165 pounds. He's out of control. And it's just really problematic to have a 165-pound dog who thinks he's a lap dog. And so every time you come in and sit down, that guy is just leaning on you. He's trying to crawl up in your lap. And you can imagine how that goes with a little bear on your side. All right, would you all consider adding an education day or a volunteer day as an additional day that would enable employees to volunteer on field trips or attend a meeting at their child's school or volunteer with a favorite organization and participate in the City of Richmond's Days of Service?
Well, listen, I think everything is up for consideration. And so one thing I've seen is that the City of Richmond has quite a few off days. 17 holidays as well as 2 floating mental health days, and I really like that environment because it shows our commitment to making sure that our employees not only have a strong requirement to deliver best-in-class services, but they also get the rest and recuperation that they need to serve well. And so while those things are considered, as of today, we don't have anything on the agenda for that. But I think, we're considering some different things as these things come along. The other piece, though, is I would encourage all of our leaders to make sure that when folks have opportunities, whether it's a child that's graduating or people need that extra bereavement leave or whatever we can do to make sure our environment is helpful, that we do that.
That's great.
All righty. Next question, I recommend that the mayor and CAO address opportunities to modernize and streamline our internal processes for approving and onboarding new systems used in critical operations. The current process feels antiquated and can take an excessive amount of time, which slows productivity and innovation.
Super important question. It's something I think about all the time. I sort of referenced the permitting process as one of those things. But yeah, I think looking at onboarding, bringing on new systems, making investments in new IT, I think those are all things that are absolutely on the agenda. In fact, it's one of the reasons that this current budget has a commitment to a transformation manager, and ultimately we want that to be a team of people that are really looking at distinct processes and improving them, whether that's a technological investment or a process re-engineering effort, or figuring out how to connect multiple departments. So it's on the horizon. I think there's a lot of work that we need to do in the transformation space.
That job is open. Apply today.
That's right. Okay, although DEI is a no-no topic federally, what can the city of Richmond do to ensure that more proportionate representation across all job categories?
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the first thing is I am super excited about your leadership as well as that of the council, because I think that is something that everybody is lockstep on. It's not so much that these are exclusionary programs, which folks have talked about, or the accusations are. It's more so that they're inclusionary programs. We want to make sure everybody has an opportunity. And so while this has been a national conversation, right here locally, I think we're getting it right, and we're focused on making sure that not only our programs, our funding, and everything that we do provides opportunities for people to be included. That means our staff, when they're moving up the totem pole of the job world, as well as our residents, making sure that they have opportunities to contract and do business. So while we're on the right track, we're also looking at new opportunities to include every single person that's a part of our community.
Awesome.
All righty. So, Mr. Mayor, this is a big one, and I want to know this one myself. New to Richmond, we got to know. Since Christmas falls on a Thursday this year, and I'm sure employees would love to spend that long weekend fully with their families, is it possible to have that Friday off also as a holiday? And you get to make that decision, by the way.
Really twisted my arm here in front of all these people. No, we hear you and we want to honor you, and so we are making December 26th a holiday for everybody. Thank you for your incredible work, Team Richmond. Happy holidays. Thanks so much.